From the way the land of the giants is blandly preparing itself for the future, to the overall lack of care shown towards those who invest their precious time in the product. The one-time hottest property in pro wrestling understandably just isn't everyone's cup of tea anymore. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 ways WWE isn't for you anymore. Number 10. Piped-in noise proves it doesn't matter what you think. The state-of-the-art Thunderdome unfortunately paved the way for the creation of a tool that has now seemingly even rendered the once sacred relationship between audience and performer obsolete. Relying on piped-in fan reactions due to the obvious lack of real-life crowd during these difficult pandemic times, WWE has now resorted to employing this tactic to paper over any undesirable reactions to whoever they deem babyface or heel on their weekly product, even slamming down hard on the cheer.wav button to mask the sheer indifference being sent a number of supposed stars way in recent times. Look no further than the likes of Ronda Rousey having her recent Raw return promo enhanced by artificial pops despite the fans inside of Cincinnati's Heritage Bank Center barely being moved to lift their heads up from their phones. In short, whether you choose to unleash your voice or refuse to react out of justifiable apathy towards what you're seeing, it simply doesn't matter anymore. Number 9. The hope of black and gold NXT is officially dead. Despite still refusing to steer away from the focus on all things sports entertainment on their main roster, Triple H's developmental super indie offered those WWE fans who desired pro wrestling from their, pro wrestling, an epic alternative to sink their teeth into. On top of that, it felt as though this version of NXT managed to simultaneously replicate what made the likes of pro wrestling gorillas such mouth-watering slices of brilliance, while still providing relative newbies with a training ground to hone their craft with some of the best workers in the business. However, on the back of the ill-advised decision to go head-to-head with Tony Khan's New Kids on the Block, said pulsating alternative was eventually scrapped in favor of the excessively vibrant 2.0 fans are lumbered with today on USA. And with WWE quickly opting to alter their recruitment strategy in the wake of this defeat, to instead focus on bringing in super green freak athletes intent on dropping each other on their heads, this one-time celebration of all things pro wrestling has been successfully transformed into a sex-obsessed mini-main roster. Speaking of which, number 8. Obsessed with selling sex to the younger demo who still are not watching. With the aforementioned Wednesday Night War trouncing fresh in their minds, Vince McMahon felt a serious change-up was needed in order to drive up the younger demo tuning in to his USA developmental show. Instead of dedicating time and effort to ridiculously talented super workers who had made a name for themselves elsewhere, the focus was now shifted towards a new wave of glamorous amateur athletes, having to navigate this complicated industry in front of a few 100,000 sets of aging eyes every week. And if that wasn't enough to provoke the younger generation into tuning in on a Tuesday night, 2.0 has pathetically gone out of its way to sell its PG variety of sex to those horny 18 to 49 onlookers in the form of the ever-present attention sent the likes of the usually half-naked Toxic Attraction or instantly memeable Nikita Lyons and her rather provocative finishers way. Despite all this blatant sexual tension throughout the 2-hour product though, there's still no real sign of that key younger demo being in too much of a rush to stick around for this shameless ride. Number 7. Zero long-term plans means no reward for paying attention. The idea of putting aside a whopping 7 hours a week to just keep up to date with WWE's 3 feature TV offerings, not including those weeks that include a 3 to 4 hour PLE, is a bit of a daunting one for many. And that's coming from somebody whose job it is to do that. Not because the in-ring action regularly sucks and the characters are agonizingly unlikable, though that does happen on occasion. It's more down to the fact that even if you choose to commit to thoroughly studying and analyzing the Raw, SmackDown, and NXT 2.0 offerings sent your way every single week, there's absolutely no guarantee WWE will stick to their own continuity, or pay off apparent seeds being planted in front of your invested eyes. Admittedly, this apparent lack of plan for the future when it pertains to just about anything on their current product hasn't been aided by a wave of poorly timed injuries recently, but WWE's consistent penchant for acting like even their most recent history has likely been forgotten by their devoted fanbase is becoming increasingly offensive, and regularly leaves most wondering why they bothered caring in the first place about events and moments that will soon be laughed off in favor of whatever mad idea Vince McMahon dreams up next. Number 6. The alternative do sports entertainment better. Former WWE icon Chris Jericho has breathed new life into his wrestling persona thanks to his newfound obsession with all things sports entertainment in AEW. From taking the piss out of fireball usage, to the relentless hammering home of a new catchphrase, to the rebranding of his squad of Jericho Appreciation Society goons, the champion has managed to actually pull off the seemingly unthinkable in making sports entertainment genuinely intriguing for a modern audience. Say it isn't so. Now sure, Jericho isn't trying to sincerely compete with the sort of tired and trope-stuffed content Vince McMahon is hell-bent on pumping into his anything-but-pro wrestling product, this is all brilliantly designed to position the Wizard as the heelish face of the anti-wrestling quarter of AEW. But in sending up WWE's bizarre need to completely no-sell the art of pro wrestling, the former AEW World Champion has actually unexpectedly added a compelling new element to the competition's programming, and one that is undoubtedly better and more carefully executed than the excruciatingly stale 24/7 title skits and frequent flexing competitions occupying WWE's supposed flagship. Number 5. A lack of TV or PLE identity. It is telling that the reinstating of Pyro on WWE programming a few years back felt like a genuine game-changer for a product that had been growing more visually uninspired by the year. But away from providing their paying universe with the bare minimum of some genuine fireworks, one element the company still refuses to change up comes in the form of the dreadfully dull TV and PLE stages trotted out in recent times. Relying more and more on digital wizardry to captivate and inspire their brainwashed core audience, gone are the days of WWE going out of their way to build elaborate sets as a way of immortalizing certain eras of Raw and SmackDown or a distinct pay-per-view. Instead, the boring as all hell Great Wall of LED provides the backdrop for just about every forgettable WWE exchange you'll stumble upon in recent times, acting as almost a visual symbol of the complete lack of soul on show in general when it comes to modern WWE offerings. And even when WWE threatens to introduce something borderline new and exciting like Fox's SmackDown Arches, it's never too long before said originality is stripped back in favor of more CGI big dogs and bro birds. Number 4, it's all about the brand and not the performers. A quick glance at the way WWE have gone about building the likes of WrestleMania over the last few years tells a story of a company now more focused on getting over the importance of their brand than their actual, workers. Seth Rollins' recent need to obtain a WrestleMania moment over trying to wiggle his way into a title match or a contest that would help him climb back into championship contention highlights this brand over-performer philosophy perfectly. It's no longer about trying to give your audience a reason to care about the full-time players putting their bodies on the line night after night, with each new arrival seemingly being burdened by the same paint-by-numbers scripted promos and not being afforded the freedom or booking to organically, genuinely connect with the public. It's instead about selling the WWE name and various properties housed under the company's banner above all else, with the shoehorning of buzzwords like WrestleMania and First Time Evers being prioritized over an individual wrestler having logical motives or exuding anything edging towards a legitimate personality. Stupendous, I think you'll agree. Number 3, it's a moments company. This year's latest crowd-popping entry into the Show of Shows history books also just so happened to showcase one of the attributes that makes WWE just so damn hard to invest in at this current moment. While few would argue with Cody Rhodes' reveal as Seth Rollins' mystery opponent being one of the most jaw-dropping visuals committed to any wrestling product in modern history, the fact the arrival itself arguably overshadowed the eventual banger that followed is a reflection of WWE's current focus on consumer-friendly moments and clips that can be frequently replayed. That's not to say that rewarding fans with these deeply satisfying beats and developments is always a bad thing by any means, but when the attention is more on capturing these lightning-in-a-bottle occurrences rather than what in the hell the direction will be afterwards, the moments themselves begin to feel a bit hollow, don't they? Number 2, dream matches are dead. What makes the concept of a dream match just so darn tantalizing in the first place is the idea of a contest being entirely fresh, or something fans have rarely been treated to before. So you can see why this particular set of circumstances has become increasingly hard to come by over the last few years in WWE, with the company constantly finding impressive new ways to completely nullify the sparkle of a first-time ever clash or highly anticipated showdown between older rivals. Whether it's due to the company's incessant need to trot out the same bout time and time again over the course of just a few weeks, or WWE's failure to make just about anything feel genuinely captivating or original right now, the end result remains the same. There are painfully few dream matches available to them at this moment capable of legitimately capturing fans' imaginations. And even if there was another AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura or John Cena versus The Rock to be made in the coming months, looking at you, Tribal Chief versus the Great Cousin, it's likely any excitement towards that once mouth-watering collision would be squandered in next to no time via WWE's overly produced idea of modern storytelling. Number 1, it's hard to separate real-life drama from the product. And now to address the uncomfortable number of elephants in the room when it comes to this relentless WWE machine. Unless you're one of the lucky few to not have invested in a device that grants you access to the old interweb, the chances are you've likely been exposed to a great many of the recent real-life behind-the-scenes developments that have often detracted distracted attention away from the actual content being brought to life within a WWE ring. From the sinister allegations recently sent Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis' way, to the handling of Sasha Banks and Naomi's Monday Night Walkout a few months back, it's becoming harder and harder to tune into weekly episodes of WWE programming without feeling a little uncomfortable about giving your time over to a company steeped in such frequent controversy. And with Vince McMahon himself defiantly strutting out in front of SmackDown and Raw live crowds just hours and days after news of him being investigated for his alleged misconduct broke, separating the in-ring action from the real-life drama will likely continue to be a near impossible exercise. One that will no doubt drive even more away from an often already near unwatchable string of shows. So on that lovely note, that has been our list. Know of any other ways that WWE is not for you anymore? Let us know in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if this kind of thing is your bag, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more awesome articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, as always, bringing in the content goods. Be safe in the meantime, and hopefully I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.